Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crew Call Live, my weekly conversation with sports entertainment professionals. If you would like to join this call and talk to my guest today, and I suggest that you do, go to broadcastworkshops.org and you can join the call that way. If you're watching on YouTube, on Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel, you're welcome to join for free all day and join and watch and enjoy. I got a really special guest today. I mean, this is a friend of mine who's works in my market for a long time. We've worked together side by side many, many years. And I know he travels and does work. And I know he does amazing work. But I had no, I when I finally, and this has been such a great experience for me doing this, is learning about the guys that I know and learning more about them and the work that they've done. And I'm like, it's incredible what this guy has done in his career. And he's quiet. He's the quietest guy about it. He's not a guy that would tell you he has done what he has done. Welcome to Crew Call Live, my man Gary D'Amaro. Hey, Gary, how are you? Thank you for joining, my friend.
Thank you, Hardy. I appreciate the invite.
Well, I like to start these things with, you know, how you the origin stories and how somebody gets into this business. I mean, I will say that I looked at your thing, 10 Emmy awards. I mean, did you think when you were that young guy getting into this business that you would get to achieve that type of recognition for your work, or was it just like a dream? I know it was for me, but
No, I didn't. It's a wonderful business to be in. And no, when I originally got into it and I was green and just learning the business, I didn't expect really to get where I was today. It started picking up after things started getting better in my business and people started looking in my directions and things got better and better and better. And no, I didn't think I would ever get those type of accolades.
what was your first exposure? Did you study this? Did you do an internship? What was your exposure to this industry?
For my first would probably be in college um when I went for orientation at Ohio University. I went there and I went for a tour of the TV department and I just took a liking to it. I'll never forget walking through the studio and seeing how they roll credits back then and shooting it with a camera on a board, and it was a little different than what it is now. Graphics are a little different, but I just got intrigued with the business and said I want to do this. And really, I started, from my college orientation is when I made that decision that I was going to probably stay in this business, and I did.
So when you were in college, you were studying. I mean, I think the majors for I didn't go to school for television. I went to school for advertising. So I
Right.
kind of diverted. And a lot of guys don't necessarily study communication. But back then, I don't even think the degree when we went to college was a communications degree. I think it was like radio, television, and film. Or were you
Yeah,
studying
my
that path?
degree at my school was a communication degree with a stress in TV production. Um, I'm sure every school did different things, and you're right. It wasn't it was definitely a communication department degree. It was in the communication department, and I guess that depends on the school you went to. But yeah, I have a degree in communications with a stress in television production.
And then, so I like the stress, and
Yeah,
it's like the
and
little bit of
it's written there.
a
It's
little bit of
written
foreshadowing,
somewhere.
huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But so then what was your from there when was your break into like real work or real job in this field?
So then, I did a lot of work in college, in the studios, in the local studios, just, starting to learn the business and started shooting news and going out into my local town in Ohio, and just shooting news. And then and then when I got home and got done with my 4-year career and got a degree, I started going around to the local news organizations on Long Island in
Now,
New Jersey.
you grew up in Ohio?
No, I grew up on Long Island, but I went to college in Ohio. I guess
So
Ohio
wh-
University was a good communication school, and I was kind of leaning towards communications, but not a TV production.
so
Um,
when you were looking for work, you already moved back home. You were out and you were home back in New York and you were like, "All right, how do I use this degree now here?"
correct,
Right?
correct. It's exactly it. And that's kind of a scary time in your life because you're young, you're 18, you see your parents and everybody making a living and trying to, and just, doing what they do to become, decent human beings, and you want to do it too. And yeah, you just look for the work after I got back from college, and I just worked the phones. And Hardy, you know better than anybody, working the phones in this business is very, very big. I mean, being a staff guy in a position or being a freelancer is two different things in this little TV world we have, and working the phones and keeping yourself um, in the mix with your colleagues and the production world is very important, and I know you know that already. And
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point here because a lot of people maybe who are watching this are trying to break into this business, and it's different than the way we. It's different because of obviously timing and everything else. But at the same time, you know, breaking in back then, it was a different way of doing it. There was cable, there was different ways of working. The industry has changed. The opportunities are different ways to start. There's different ways to learn and get access to equipment. It's always not always as easy to kind of get that experience, especially and staff and freelance was like a big difference. Back then, it was a predominantly staff work environment. Now it's probably more of a freelance environment. So a lot of the guys who had a chance to become a freelancer was because you were doing basically vacation relief for staff guys. And there was a time when most of these staff guys who had big careers there had end up accruing a ton of time off. So they would, want to take weeks and weeks off. So that was opportunity for guys like you and I back then.
it
But different
was.
opportunities exist now. But there's more. It's changed because it's more freelance work out there.
Yeah. I mean, technology has changed too. I mean, I remember it was we were using beepers back then to get work. I mean, and now, now it's instant. Basically you get a phone call and basically you're booked for a week. You know what I mean? So technology has also changed, Hardy. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean, it helps. This more connected environment that we're in now. I mean, we've had to adapt with it because we all used to be old school guys with our books and keeping our dates in our books and stuff like that. But that's just the pro. That's just I think the evolution of doing business. You're a freelancer. You're
Right.
pretty much you're an independent business agent, and you have to run your business and make those changes. Otherwise, you're not going to be in business for long.
That's very important. Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
so you got to manage a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah.
you started to get your opportunities to do a lot of was it working local stuff that broadened you first? Were you
Yes.
doing what was it? The Garden was your first break in there? Was it baseball,
So
hockey?
my first break-in was Long Island Sports Network, which was a local sports access channel and sports channel. Um, and basically, I would go into the field, and do mostly sports, Hardy, mostly high school sports on Long Island, Garden City, um, Deer Park, all these little schools. We would, basically do what we do on a much smaller scale, on a much smaller truck, and we'd make it work somehow and put together the show on that day. But yes, mostly local sports is how I originally got into the business, local stuff.
That's what I did too. I did a lot of these local origination stuff and high school basketball tournaments, college stuff, all those. But the concepts were the same. The equipment wasn't for sure, but the
Yeah,
the concepts were. So it helped me, doing handheld under the basket for a college high school basketball game isn't much different the work wise as doing a professional NBA game. The shots are the same. There's bigger players, better play,
true.
but you're functioning in the same manner of doing it.
Basically, yes.
So I mean, I know you as an incredible cameraman, versatile in both handheld and hard camera. You mix it up. You still do a lot of both, and you've been some of the work that I think is the most impressive work that you've done. And we're going to go a little back and forth because we were talking about how you started, but I'm fascinated with your Olympic work. You first started in 2000. Where was your first Olympic experience?
My first Olympic experience was 2000, which was Sydney, Australia. And then I started doing swimming, and then and then I've done every single Olympic since 2000, every 2 years, winter and summer. I specialize usually in gymnastics in the summer and figure skating in the winter. Um,
I mean,
and
those are the two big ones, man. Those are the
they
two.
are,
I mean, they're a big commitment of work. I
it
mean,
is.
the stories that you told with your lens in gymnastics and figure skating,
Yeah.
you have to be really proud of that body of work, right?
Yeah, I mean, just most recently with Simone Biles and stuff like that. I mean, to see her dump out of events and just, I mean, Hardy, you've been there and I have too. But to be in the moment when stuff is happening around you is just an unbelievable feeling. I mean, all of a sudden, you've been there, Hardy, when there's a turnaround in a game at the very, very end of the game, or so Ramon Biles wins the gold, or she drops out of the race. You've seen that happen right in front of you, and the change of atmosphere around you that me and you are responsible to capture, and get the shots of what's going on, and get the emotion the face, the visuals of what's going on, and also staying out of the way of the sport and knowing that you're not the sport. You are recording the sport. You are documenting the sport. You are on the sidelines of the sport and watching it from the outside in. Um, yeah, and then I did
And,
more,
and
I did
plus, you like
everything.
you work with a bunch of guys too. This is from Rio. This is a group of your guys, all handheld RF. You weren't always
Yes.
RF handheld. You were a wired guy for a long time on
Yes,
these shows.
technology changed, and we used to be wire, and and then RF radio frequency came into play, and we were doing much more of that, and it was much easier around the athletes because you could get a gymnast at your feet stretching out with a cable. Without a cable is much better situation because you can just get around the athlete and get shots of them around them. They're usually right at your feet, stretching and the Olympics was a very gratifying thing for me, Hardy, because this is going to be the first year I'm not going to do it. Um, since 2000, I've done every single one since 2000, and this year I decided to, I'm so very fortunate to have the work that I do, and I don't ever take that for granted.
Well, you're
Um,
not going to do it because you're going to be at the Super Bowl, and,
I'm going
and,
to
and
be
it
at
would
the
be,
Super Bowl.
it'd be a,
I'm not going to be at the Super Bowl. I'm going to be in Alcatraz. I'm going to be on a set they're going to have a few sets around San Francisco, and I'm going to be in Alcatraz because they're going to have a set in Alcatraz. So I'll be in Alcatraz doing basically they'll be highlighting Alcatraz. You know how NBC likes to do it. They like to show off the city. Well, that's one of their locations.
that's going to be pretty cool. Do you know who your talent's going to be yet or no?
Um, I'm not sure, but I know Tarico's coming down. So they're all going to come down and do a hit there at some point. You know what I mean? During the week that I'm going to be there. They're all going to come down and do a hit and do there's going to be a set there. So I think Tarico's coming down. I think some of the biggest talents are coming down to do some hits down there for sure. And then they'll transport him back to the game.
Yeah. So you were so you've done this will be how many different Super Bowls have you done? This will be your fifth one,
So my
right?
very first Super Bowl was at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami with San Francisco against, I'm forgetting right now, but I did that one. And so I did a total of I'm looking at my own credentials right now because I don't study that all the time. But you know, I did I've been to about five. This will be my sixth Super Bowl this year, I believe.
That's incredible. So between the Olympics and the Super Bowls, and what are some of the memories? I mean, you talked about the Simone Biles and that the Final Five and that those gymnastics. I mean, you've had you've been a part of. You must have been walking out of some incredible night. I mean, must have get a high from that when you walk out of the
We do.
venues and there was an incredible moment that the world has seen.
Yeah. Well, Hardy, I've known you for 40 years. I mean, it's basically we've been in the situation that probably one of the biggest events I've done, and believe it or not, and because I'm a hockey fan, would probably then be the New York Rangers winning the Stanley Cup.
94.
It 94. It's just something that sticks in my head, and I'll never forget. I was there doing the show, and they had multiple positions for us. I was obviously doing a game camera during the game, but I had to run in front of the whole celebration up to the club upstairs. The and all the players were going to come in there. All the wives for the players of the Rangers were going to be in there. So I'll never forget Mark Messier opening up the door with the Stanley Cup. He opened up the, you know how the doors open up he took the cup and he banged it with the Stanley Cup, and the doors popped open. I was on the other side with the wives and the families, and he popped in, and it was just a feeling that I'll never get. That's one thing. The Stanley
Yeah,
Cup.
I mean, when you get when you get to be like you feel like a fly in the room, but you're sharing the moment. You can't not help but feel the energy in the
Oh,
room when it happens. Like
definitely.
it is an incredible feeling, and you don't forget those feelings.
No.
Like you didn't play in the game, you captured the game, but you had a chance to feel the emotion of that, of how much like those guys fought for that champ, and that you're in that room and that celebration. It's really an electric feeling. It's undescribable. And then you're
You didn't
lucky.
play the game, but you almost felt like you did.
Yeah, it is weird. I know.
You have too, Hardy. I've had times when I had the hair sticking up in the back of my neck because of what I'm seeing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's right
Oh
there in front
God.
of me. I mean, we do have the best seats in the house, cameramen, right? We do. We
Yeah.
chose to do
It
this,
is.
but I didn't know that, you know?
No, we never do. Like but it's weird because you never know when something that you do or you're a part of is going to be like news, or it's going to be something that you never know, because sports and life is it's unexpected, unplanned.
Yes.
Anything can happen at any moment. Because I remember when I did a football game with the Colts when the Colts um, coach had the cancer, and he came back and he did this, and he
Oh,
did a speech in the locker room when he won the game after the first, and that speech was the most emotional thing I think I ever heard from a man who spoke about his daughters,
it
and
could change things like that can
yeah, and
change your
there
thoughts.
wasn't a dry eye in the room. And I'm talking, you're looking at men who just like 300-pound men who beat the crap out of other men for a sport, were in that room tearing up like children in a way, because it was beyond sports. It was a moment that resonated, which was beyond the game. And those moments happen within the game, outside the game, and we get to capture them. It's the perk of the job, I guess. When you never know when it's going to happen. You're happy to be there, and you're happy to be. I mean, I always tell people who get into this business, we're storytellers. We use our tools, which is our Zoom, Zoom tilt, pan, focus, and all that, to tell our stories. We frame it up, our composition. It's great to be a part of those stories.
Right.
When you hear
It's
them
true.
told, I mean, you have to kind of, especially now leading up to, like, you say you're not going to do the Olympics, and you'll not that you're going to miss it, but you'll be reminded, because you're going to see a lot of your old work leading up to it. They're going to show promos and promo stuff, and I know you'll quietly just shrug your shoulders and then think
Yeah.
back and like, oh, that was my shot. Those were
Right.
my memories that they're re-showing to get people excited
Yeah.
about making new memories. But it's amazing. I mean,
You know what? You could always learn in this business, though, and I always do. I mean, I've gone to camera meetings and stuff like that, Hardy, and they'll hand us a piece of paper and say, "This is the framing that we would like," and you've been there from a director. This is the kind of the framing we'd like, and you look at it and says, "Well, that's my shot." I mean, that was the framing, but you could always learn something. You can always learn something. I'll never get to the point that I think I can't learn something. You can always learn something more. And I'm, 65 years old.
you're at the top of your game at 65, but I will tell you this. But getting back to learning something, I want to ask you, because I know I had mentors along the way. I had definitely had people that helped show me things that I was doing right, and things that I was doing wrong. Did you have people in along the way that helped you? Do you have are
Yes,
you
I
in
did.
touch are you in touch with some of them still, or you have fond memories about things that you learned from guys?
I have a bunch of guys who would sit me down and show me how to build a camera, how to be better in my business. I mean, some of them aren't around anymore, some of them are. Louis Rojas, a couple of old timers that, would take a camera part Hardy in front of me and then put it back together. And then he'd say, "Go ahead, it's your turn." And then he'd look the other way and keep an eye on me, and I'll never forget it. And what I'll never forget is that I have to do that too. So I have to do the teaching too, and that's why I wanted to be on this program too. So
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, because I know
yeah,
I know you're a guy that wants to pay it forward,
yeah,
because you and I both know how generous that is for somebody
that's
to
right.
take the time to show you how it's done, or how they feel that because it's not a passing but too many people in this business feel threatened by other people. There is no
It's true.
threat by other people. Your worst enemy in this business is yourself, because you will talk yourself out of more things. You'll procrastinate. You'll second guess yourself more than anybody else will ever second guess your skills and ability. So you just tune those people out and focus on your own enemy, which is yourself. Then you're fighting a battle that you're going to win, because you set your own limitations. You can, I always say, just don't be afraid. You can't be afraid of failure, because the path to success is paved with a little bit of failure. It just happens. But the
Yeah,
key to that is just
especially
learning
in
from
this
this.
business.
You know, you got to learn from those
Especially in this
mistakes.
business. We got these directors, that are, telling us what to do, and their idea of what we like to show them and what they like might be a little bit different, but we have to do what they ask, or, to a point. You know what I mean?
Oh, I definitely know what you mean. But I think that comes with trust too, because you and I
Yeah.
do a lot of work together. We work locally. Probably worked together nationally on some stuff, but locally at the Garden, when you and I are there, we work like we'll work a visiting show. We'll work these feeds, and you and I we'll be at the Garden there. There's you up at the upper deck, and we have to
Yep.
deal with different directors from different cities all the time. And it's a difference between dealing with the home show, who has the same crew
Oh yeah.
or 90% of the same crew every night, and he knows the routine and the assignment. So there's a trust, or a difference in trust, between a home show guy and his crew that he gets every night, and a
Absolutely.
visiting show director who has a couple of guys that he doesn't know. He may know our names from the last time he was in town. Did I have you? A lot of guys we see in New York, because we have three teams within our area: Rangers, um, Islanders, and Devils. Some of these teams come in and do the whole swing, and you might see them on at different arenas along the way.
In 3 days.
Sometimes you
Right.
don't. Yeah, a couple of days
Yeah.
here, a couple of days there. But
Right.
there's a trust that they have to build with you to know. And so, like the other night, they'll just give you a sheet, like with the assignments and blah blah blah, and the stuff that
Right.
we see all. And every director has it different, or they want to do it differently. Last night, I had Ottawa. Ottawa is a Canadian team, and they cut differently. Like they don't. We
Yes, they
do
do.
camera one and two. We do camera one is game, two is tight. They
Right.
do it the opposite. So it takes you have to start thinking, two, when he's calling,
Sure.
one and two, it's different now, and your brain. So it's a learning curve to all of this industry in that respect. Let's talk a little about equipment. You'll be doing handheld, or you gonna be doing a hard camera on this?
For that, I'm going to be doing a handheld. I'm sure I'm going to have a set of, mini sticks. I'll probably, be moving around to three different sets with my rig, I'll probably have a servo control, and, I don't think I'll be a studio configuration, but I think I will be a uh moving, handheld that can go to a few different spots with drop. I don't think I'm RF. I have cables on that one, Hardy.
Do you have meetings with the production people beforehand to put in a request, like you said you're going to want a Zoom controller and stuff like that might not always
Yes.
be available?
Well, not before I get there, but in a when you're doing a Super Bowl in the States, you can get something in a day very easily. So if there's something there that's not that I need, I spoke to the director and told him what I do need. But I don't really. The way that goes down is usually when I get to the job, I'll go to these trucks because I'm working on these brand new trucks, and most of them all have servo controls and stuff on the trucks. You know what I mean? So sometimes I can request equipment, but not normally.
Now I want to talk a different sport. I want to talk two different sports with you now, because we talk major sports and other stuff like that. But just this past weekend, the PBR was in at the Garden, and they were in town, and there's been shots all over the place. I mean, everybody, maybe people don't know, but Madison Square Garden is probably the only arena in the country where the game working floor is on the fifth floor of the building. So
True.
they have to get these bulls up the ramp. So there's a bunch of videos of these
And
guys on
dirt.
horses. Yeah, and dirt. Yeah, but once they get the dirt in, they got to get the bulls in, and they got these guys
Right.
on horses corralling the bulls up the ramps and everything like that. But you actually did bull riding for a while, for
5 years.
five years on the whole tour, right?
with Dave Hagen.
with
Yes,
Hagen, the late Dave Hagen, a phenomenal cameraman who became a director and had a storied career doing PBR, Nets basketball, and Dave Hagen was an artist and just a phenomenal
he
man.
was.
And
God bless him.
a great mentor to many people. And his son now is on the A show for Fox doing handheld, and it is as sweet of a guy as too. So
They are. He's got two sons that are in
yeah,
the business.
Kyle will be on this on the, I got him planned for maybe a couple of months down the line. He's
Oh,
going to jump on
great. Good. I
after.
want to
I'm going
see
to try to
that
get him
episode.
after. I'm going to try to get him soon after something. Yeah, I want to talk PBR with him. But how was that? 5 years on the PBR. That's it. I mean, I feel like when you how long ago was it when you were on it?
It was probably 10 years ago that I was on it, and then I was on it for 5 years. And they were doing the finals at Vegas, so I'd go to the Vegas every year in November for a week to do the finals. And the one thing about bull riding, and I loved it. It was so much fun. Is we could become more creative, and um, I'll never forget that. Like I was talking to the director Dave, and we was like, Dave, I know this one cowboy because these are cowboys riding bulls. You can get hurt doing this. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to
Oh,
keep.
oh. Listen. I've been watching some of these videos of these guys getting jammed
Yeah,
up by these bulls.
yeah,
That's no joke, man. That
yeah.
is a
But
no joke
these,
sport.
yeah, oh, it is not. These are young kids, and these kids will break their elbows and they'll get back up on the bull because they need the points to go to Vegas, and they'll hide it from the doctors and stuff. It's crazy stuff that goes on. But what happens is the the bull riding is like a place. One time I had Dave, I said, Dave, I know there's one bull rider. He takes his hat and he throws it. If he makes the ride, he takes his hat and he throws it down the arena. He says, what I want to do, Bull, what I want to do, Dave, is I want to run all the way down to the other side of the arena, get to the hat with my wide angle lens, and put the camera down to the ground with the hat and watch the cowboy walk over to the hat and pick it up, and I'll go with him. And it was all pre-planned. And it was over a beer the night before, to be honest with you. And
That's when the best made plans are made, my friend.
And we laughed and we said, that could happen. Let's see what happens. We laughed. And I heard him calling the producer off. I heard, so then, sure enough, the gate opens up. The bull comes out, a raging bull coming out with all his power. And he throws the cowboy, and the cowboy made the ride by like a split second. His feet didn't touch the ground, so he made the 8-second ride. He throws his cowboy hat I mean, further than I've ever seen it in my life. So now I'm running like 70 yards down to get this freaking hat, right? I'm running as fast as I can. I get to the hat, I put the camera down, and I hear him, Dave, calling off the producer on the replays because he knows this is coming up. And he doesn't want to go to replay and miss this. So sure enough, he takes the shot. The hat's there. It's a full shot of the hat in the frame. It's a viewer thing. The viewer's
Yeah.
probably a little confused for half a second, like what's going on, and then he realizes you see the cowboy walking in the background towards the hat, and it's little things like that that kind of make a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
that's what I call the recipe of television.
yeah,
Everybody has a recipe for like whatever the
yeah,
town or what, but it's what everybody uses different ingredients for it. So like
yeah.
that was your little ingredient to the puzzle on
To
the
that day, yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, but why I was bringing this up to begin with was because like watching PBR, the stuff that I see now, it is like the perfect sport for this high speed frame rate cameras. I mean, you've been
Yeah,
see
right.
the musculature of these bulls when they're
That's true.
freaking in air, moving, jumping around. It's nuts to see the athleticism of the animal and the rider at the same time. It's almost made for that kind of stuff. And I was thinking like, oh, if you would if you when you do sports now and you have this access to this great equipment, do you think about that like, oh, I wish I had this when I was shooting that, or do you ever think like,
Yes, I absolutely do. Right now, I'm a Supermo for Thursday night football. I'm a Supermo camera handheld on the far side, camera 7. Right now, you got to also shoot differently when you're Supermo because you got to shoot. After everything is all said and done, the play's done. you got to get in there to get a tight shot and a reaction that they can kind of replay back for a nice little Supermo look. So you kind of shooting a little bit different. But yes, when I was doing bull riding, they had Supermo cameras, but they didn't have the frame rate cameras that they have today. I mean, and it looks so much better right now with what they're doing with the with these cameras. I think I shoot a 6 by camera right now.
Yeah, six times seems to be the sweet number for football right now. I
Yeah.
mean, I think because I mean all that comes because of um the allotment of, I mean, obviously for the quality of what the shot is, but also because of the EVS and storage, things tie up different channels. And because in order to get, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but every phase ties up of the signal ties up channels in the EVS, and you're limited because, you can only do like, what is it, 4 in, 2 out, whatever the
Yes. True.
configuration
It
of,
uses more.
yeah. So you have to configure it, so
And not to get into the technical end of it, there's also licensing involved. So that like you could pick up a camera and it's a 5600, it's a camera that you think could do the job, but they still need to license that camera.
yeah.
And I
Oh yeah.
think that's how some of these how they make their money, which is understandable. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, that's how it works. I mean, it's in Sony's best interest to just make the technology the way it is, and then make the cameras down the line all have this capability, and just sell you the key to unlock the capabilities when you're ready for it.
Right, right,
Every 5500 is ready to go slow mo. It's just
right.
whether you're ready to pay the camera
The fee.
guy company to get that licensing for the camera, and then if you want to record it, you got to pay EVS to or Dreamcatcher or whoever you're going to use to get your slow mo capabilities to record it.
Yeah,
But that's the cost of doing business, but it's worth it. I mean, you and I
yeah.
both know uh, the value of production value. And I'm in my garage. I say it all the time. I'm full of tools in here. It's not the tools that you have. It's what you do with the tools that you have. How you use them. I mean, in our job, we're lucky enough, especially when you do some of these big shows, we get to use some of the best equipment out there, and those capabilities of we've seen. You and I, in the time that we've been doing this, have seen a lot of change in the equipment that we use, from the 4x3 tube cameras that we started shooting with that were NTSC, to now HD, and now
Triac to SIMPD to single mode to yeah, we saw all the conversions. We saw all the conversions.
are you seeing, what do you think? Let's talk the future of our industry and our business, because you and I are both involved in the unions, and seeing how people are who are new members to this union and the work, and how things are changing. We have meetings with our union, and there's major discussions about a lot of the industry and what's changing, especially with this baseball stuff, the whole FanDuel thing, and that just went away because
Right.
we were told that FanDuel was going to be the new production partner for all these regional baseball games, and now they're not. And
And they may be going out. They may be going out. That's true. Yes.
now it's going to somewhere else. So I mean, the work is still good. We're still going to be covering baseball games, but who we're going to be working for when we do is going to be, it's still up in the air, and how that's going to work out. So we are seeing a definite change in the way the business is done. We're seeing a change in some of the way positions are done, because obviously
I think as far as our jobs go, I think there's a little bit that not a little bit, and I know you know this. I think there's an artistic value in our job, and it's like yes, anybody can jump on a camera and point it, but to be in the right place at the right time for that reaction is a different story. I mean, you could be close to the reaction, or you could be close to the play, or you could be close to the touchdown or the stretch to see the guy got out at first base. But I got a feeling that over the years they're still going to use you and I and people who know the sport. I mean, sport is a little bit different than entertainment. I mean, sport, you got to know the sport. You got to know You got to know an infield, pop-up rule from that to you got to know every single rule that's going to happen before the play happens, right? So, you got to know the game a little bit. So, with sport, you got to know the game a little bit. So I think they're not going to change you and I over the years as far as like the professional cameramen in this market. If FanDuel happens to go away or something like that. You know what I mean? I hope.
Well, I don't think they can. I mean, they have to maintain. I mean, the reality is we make a product and that product is
Right.
still valuable to these people. It's just not sold in the traditional way it was sold anymore. It's over the air and now it's streaming, whatever it is, it's still a product being sold. People and it's being sold in more different places now. Now, if you want to watch MLB games for your team, and I don't know, and I mean, we'll take Yankees or Mets, you probably have to own a bunch of different streaming services to see all the games if you wanted to watch all the
True.
games. It was much easier when I was a kid to watch
And probably
every single
designed that
Yankee.
way.
Huh?
Right. And probably designed that way. You're absolutely right about the streaming services.
Yeah, but I mean, it probably, yes, it is designed that way, and it is another way for this our content to monetize in a different way, and which is great. I mean, as long as they figure out, how that is happening, how they're making money, how it prop because we're dependent upon this business to work in a certain way. They make money, then they don't cut the budget on production, so that way we can all work and do our shows. But it has to work in that way because otherwise, then they don't want to add those toys. They don't want to have the slow mo. Economics does play a role. Like this year, we know that the Phantom camera that the Yankees had on the Yes Show is not going to be in play. Which was a really cool. I mean, that was a really cool production look for the Yankees, especially
I
with
loved it.
Judge and his swings and crazy cat. I mean, that camera
Slow
shoots at
motion.
yeah, it's phenomenal. Those plays at the plate, those plays at the bag, touching steals. You won't see it. You'll still see great coverage because they're great camera guys, but we're losing one of the tools.
Tony's a master at it. Yep.
Yeah, Tony and Jeremy both do a phenomenal job on
Yeah.
that on those cameras. So, what's your schedule will be traveling now for a little while. Then are you planning a vacation? What's your
Yes. So me and my wife camp in the summertime. We have a trailer, uh, and we have a few trips planned. Excuse me. And then yeah, I'll do the Super Bowl. And then I have some weeks after that we're making some plans to go away to a few different places. And my horse racing package will start after that, and we'll camp off my trips. And I take
now?
my wife away with me to some of my we'll stay there a little longer because let's face it, this business, you're on the if you decide you can either be local or you could be on the road. If you're on the road, or both, or you could do both. You can do a little bit of both. If you're on the road, um, you're on the road, so you're away from your family during probably the most busiest times of, Christmas, New Year's. It's a possibility you could be away for Thanksgiving or something like that. So, you got to, it's one of the things in the businesses that you need to know, that it could
Yeah, well,
happen.
you got to find a work balance. Now, the talking about horse racing and stuff like that, and your wife and doing stuff like that. Your wife, you are horse people. You have a horse.
Yes, we do.
Your wife, your wife rides. Matter of fact, if I have my horse
That's
meter.
right. You
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna have to. We're gonna. Uh, Obviously, I work in my wood shop, and I like to sit
nice.
around and do things. And I asked you, my sister-in-law Karen, she'll be happy. She's getting a little shout out on this. Uh, my sister-in-law Karen is also a horse person because my father-in-law, my mother-in-law's father was a mounted police officer in Pelham, and my in-laws used to take in retired. They took in his retired horse, and then they ended up taking in other retired police horses for a while. But then they've always had horses, and then they stopped having horses, but they kind of got rid of the barn because it's a lot of work. You know that about how much horses. They're a beautiful animal, but they're still a lot of work. And so I wanted to make her a gift because she was missing her horses, so I needed some horseshoes to make. I was making a wine rack for her. I found a little thing to make a wine rack for her,
I
and
remember.
you were so generous, and it's a weird call to make to her. Hey, can I get some horseshoes from you? And you were like, matter of fact, I can get. Yeah, I have some old horseshoes. I'm like, yeah. You were one of the guys. I'm like, who do I know who has the horse? Oh, Gary. Yeah, you got horse. And you were generous enough to give me some horses. So I made a little
Yeah, that's from
little a
my
little
horse.
little thing for me, and I made one for your wife, and I sent it to you as a little thank you for
You
for
did.
doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's in a good spot too.
And I'm glad that's, I mean, that's for me the best thing when if I make
Yeah.
something for somebody
So
and,
those are
and
the things I do on my off time. I go on vacation, hang around with my horses, my lovely wife, things like that. And yes, I do try to strategically plan out time for myself. You have to, and you got to block out time and say, forget about work and turn the other way, especially as a freelancer. I don't have to tell you, you
yeah.
know?
Well, let's talk a little about the work of horse racing because I had a chance to work at the Belmont Stakes a few times with your crew and your guys. And the one thing about that NBC crew, it's a big crew, it's a big family. I mean, and you'd pick up a couple of locals along the way. So I was one of the locals that ended up picking up along the way when you guys came to New York.
I
And for many
remember.
years, I mean, those the Triple Crown year with what was the guys? The one in New York. That was I forget the one. I think I have the ticket somewhere in here.
Yeah. You won on that? You won on it? You won on that?
Yeah, I bet he was gonna. I
Yeah.
bet the dollar, and I kept the ticket. I didn't cash it in because
Yeah.
they say it's worth keeping, but I don't know if it was. But you just get like it's that that thing. I mean, that thing I call it the thing, but the Belmont Stakes, and you know more than me because you had a chance to visit the other great horse. I mean, I never been to the Kentucky Derby, and I hear it's just an incredible track. I've been up to Saratoga, love Saratoga. It's a phenomenal place to see horse racing. And I do like the sport. I'm not a gambling guy, but I do love those animals for some reason. And the atmosphere of a horse racing track is just fun. Just a lot of people. If you like the people watch, you can
Yeah.
have a good time people watching there.
Yeah.
Um, but is that fun for your wife to
Oh
come
my
on the
God,
road and
Hardy,
see
that
that?
is the most fun event to do. The pageantry at the Kentucky Derby is unbelievable. To see what people wear when they come to the Kentucky Derby for what it's a 2 minute race that we're there a week and a half before. It's a 2 minute race. We're there a week and a half before, putting up 45 cameras. The pageantry that we see leading up to that is unbelievable. To see the hats, to see the old winners of the Kentucky Derbies, to see the horses that's one of my more favorite sports. I mean, I'm a hockey fan, it's probably my number one sport, but horse racing is probably my second. I just like being around the horses and the challenge of being around horses and the logistics of getting around from here to there to there to there during the race to get to the front side of the race to get into the winner's circle to interview the winner and the owner of the horse is just phenomenal. I did it with Pete Stendel for a long time, and we were partners on that, and we just learned together, and we just took it to a different level on
Yeah, I
trying
mean
to
Pete
make
in the jockey room.
TV
Yeah,
shows.
he loved being in that jockey room.
Oh,
But you're right, the logistics of a horse. I mean, that's a big. You're right. It's a 2 minute race, but the story's told for hours before that 2 minutes, and it's rehearsed. It's a lot of prepackaged stuff. It's a lot of logistical stuff. They're
yeah,
telling stories in pieces and stuff like that, but they're not doing those at a desk all the time. You have so and so here, and then so and so there, and then so and
right,
so, and then you got to go with this person here and then leave that person and
right.
bring up there and pick up that person and then go to another place and then be when the race starts be here because when the guy wins he's going to go there and then
Then you got to go to the jockey's room. Then you got to
and then,
go to the finish line. Then you have to go to the paddock area. I mean, it's like you have a drop everywhere, and you're running to get to the spot to try to beat what's happening in front of you, and get there before the rider gets there or the horse gets there. It is logistically, it is a bit of a nightmare, but we get it done. And the one thing about being around horses too is a cable looks like a snake to a horse. I mean, you got to tippy toe around a horse, so you'll get them. Imagine a horse rearing up at the Kentucky Derby, and the camera guy was responsible for that. That would not be good. You know what I mean? So you
yeah
got to,
you don't want to be the storyline
you don't
you
want
want
to be
to
the
capture yeah
storyline.
you want to
Correct.
capture the story but not to be the storyline, that's for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. So
What do you have any stories of like we all had been on shows like I did an Orange Bowl one time that the truck lost power at halftime and you know we had just gotten the word that okay take 5 minutes for a quick nature break at halftime and I well, I was a handheld. I took off my headset, and by the time I walked 5 feet past the cart guy, he looks down and goes, "Truck's down," and I go, "What?" And I'm like, "The truck's down. Take your time." And I'm like, "What?" So we had. So do you have a story from when you did a show and that things didn't go well, or I mean, not that it was your fault or not, but do you have
No,
a recollection of something?
yeah, I do have a similar story now that you mention it. I was doing the beginning of the XFL. So we started up with the XFL. I was working with Mario Zecca. I was working with a bunch of guys at that time. Pete Stendel, one of them.
The original. You talk about the original version of XFL with the Vince
The
McMahon
original,
and
the original version,
with the
correct.
Bubba cams.
Correct, with the Bubba cams. So I'll never forget, it's the first show, the very first show where the Raiders used to play. Where did the Raiders used to play? In the local
Oakland,
Coliseum,
Oakland, the Oakland. Oh,
Oakland. So
terrible.
we're oh my God, it's a terrible stadium. So we're in there, and I have a camera that's halfway up the stands, and we got that same familiar noise, Hardy, of the truck going down. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. You heard the truck go down, and my camera went black. I'm like, that's not good. We're going to air in 10 minutes. So I'm close to the truck. I get off my camera, I walk over to the truck, and I turn the corner, and I see the tech manager is siphoning siphoning diesel fuel because the generator ran out of diesel fuel out of the trucks, the truck
Oh, out of the trailers.
and
Oh,
he's
out of.
I see him actually swallowing it. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had to walk away. I walked away, and and we made air, but it was like 3 minutes before air, everything came back up. And when you power something up, it doesn't just come up. It takes a while for things to recycle and things to come up. So yeah, that was a hairy moment. I'll never forget. And Rock was there, and he was, let's get ready to play football. He was on the seat. The Rock was introducing that game for the first time.
Oh my
It
God,
was
that's.
amazing.
How about yeah? So let's you dropped the rock. How about have you had some cool celebrity moments or worked with some people along the way? I know you've done a lot of
Sure.
concerts too and stuff like that. Are there any memorable other events that you've done along the way that you were like, "Oh, that was pretty damn cool. I didn't
Well,
think
we
I'd
did
ever do that."
Woodstock. I had done Woodstock, which was it was the reunion Woodstock, not the
Oh,
one in
the 94, 99. They did kind of two.
94.
The
I was there with
94 one.
Ed Ryan. We were up on the roof, and yeah, I saw a handful of musicians during that. That was great. I mean, it was a little scary the way it ended, but because the
The
kids sounded
rains, you
like they
mean?
wanted to
How
make a
bad
st
the weather, you mean? How bad it ended that way?
No, it just they started burning fires, the kids, and then they almost like wanted to like have a statement, but there was really not a statement. So they said on headsets, everybody come back to the truck because it started getting a little hairy. Because, it wasn't Vietnam going on. The kids didn't really have a statement to make. It was really more about a music festival. You know what I mean?
But
So
they wanted to make it about something.
they
I
wanted
guess.
to make it about something because of Woodstock, maybe. So that's one thing. I mean, I met I met Tom Cruise. I met,
How
and
what's your Tom Cruise story? That's got to
I
be a
met
good.
Tom Cruise at the Olympics, the last Olympics. He was promoting his movie. It was like a cross promotion thing, and he showed up at gymnastics. I also met Snoop Dogg. Um, let's see who else I met. I met a few other stars along the way. I met the lead singer to I can't think of it right now, but I met a lot of guys along the way, a lot of stars during the way coming along. A lot of my football games, I met who's the big baseball player for the Dodgers right now. He was there on the sideline.
Oh, Shohei
Yeah,
Otani.
yeah,
You- you-
Otani was there when the day he signed. He was there with his manager on the sidelines. Because we were doing a game in LA, a football game. So they were trying to cross promote that stuff. I met Obama. I met Clinton. I
oh,
met
you've done some political stuff too. You're right. You've done some inaugurations
yeah,
and
I did a couple of parades and inaugurations. I did a couple in Washington, and I did in Hofstra University. We did a debate. It was with Mitt Romney and Obama. And I'll
Oh,
never forget that. That. It was a bunch of the guys you know, Matt Kelly. It was a bunch of our guys. Were you on that, Hardy?
no, I wasn't, but I
No.
think Ray was, and a lot of guys always think
Ray
I'm
was
Ray.
on it. Ted was on it. Anyway, I'll never forget that. I was on the set of that, and I had a working camera around the set, and I'll never forget the FBI came in and they planted all sorts of stuff around, and we were supposed to look the other way. You know what I mean? They also cut a perfect. They took a sawzall and they cut a hole right in the middle of the dais, and it was a release for them if there was an emergency. And all they did
Oh,
was
no,
put
oh,
these.
to tackle somebody into the hole kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think their thought was to get rid of the candidates if something was to happen. But we saw them doing it because they had the cameras pointing out still, and we had to all leave the area, but we could see in the truck, we could see what was going on.
Oh man, that's
So they
wild that
cut
they.
a perfect circle in the middle of their two daises, and they put L brackets there so they could just kick the hole. I mean, it was a raised stage, so they would have went down. You know what I mean, Hardy?
That's wild. That is so wild that they would do it that way for that kind. And then so that was their stage, or they cut. It was like they had to
That
build
was
that
the
stage.
debate stage in Hofstra University. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All those guys they remember that. We were all around the stage for that. We all were like amazed at what we were seeing. There was heavy security there.
Yeah, I did the inauguration with Obama when it was during the lockdown and the COVID and all, and it was all the whole DC, that whole area was like
Locked.
streets blocked down with barbed wire. We stayed at a hotel near the Watergate Hotel and walked in, and it was like walking through like Escape from New York. It was empty streets and it was weird, man. It was really, really weird. It was because they had everything blocked off. I mean, if you were looked, if you, yeah, you had to have the right credential to walk every corner. But that's how it is with now. I mean, I'm sure nowadays to do anything politically, the the credentials and the access stuff to stuff has to be so, rigorously
Oh,
checked.
they take my social security number. I'm sure they checked it. They check everything out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
And I'm sure they do it for the Olympic stuff too, and everything, and all the other,
Yes.
when you travel internationally, I'm sure those things are. I mean, I heard stories about during the COVID times they had to bring they when where was the last one? It was where it was China, where the last Olympics.
The last Olympics,
Which was the COVID one? Because there was times where they had to bring people home and put them on a plane because
China, right?
China, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they were going to put you in a quarantine village or something if
Yes.
you tested positive. And there was like they took like a midnight flight out of there and got people out to
It was
California.
Tokyo. I'm sorry, it was Tokyo.
Oh, it was Tokyo. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's always crazy stories about
Yeah.
those type of things when they happen
Yeah, well,
in
that's
those big
another
events.
thing is, like me and you, when we go out on the road or whatever, it could even be a local game. I mean, basically, as camera people, me and you are exposed. We're out there. You know what I mean? We're just out there, and if like this thing happened with COVID and stuff like that, I mean, we were still there was some downtime for us, but they wanted us back at our business because everything they wanted everything back as normal. And me and you are the ones that have to stand out in the middle of the world. You know what I mean? Am I
Right.
right?
Yeah, but what was your first events during COVID? Did you work during COVID stuff? What was because
I know
how'd
when I
that?
got canceled, I was doing the Players down in Florida, and it was my second day, and they did this thing called all shots you see, or something like that. It was a golf show, and I was on a fairway, and they told us about the COVID had hit and that we need to put all our cameras away. We still had another week of work to do the show. It didn't even start. And to bring the cameras back, and we were going home. And people were getting in their cars and going home, and it was mayhem. I'll never forget it. And I took a flight 2 days later because the next day flights were a problem, and finally got home. My first job after that was I believe it was a Nets basketball game, and also a strange feeling. everybody wearing masks, the people who you knew, the best of your friends and best of your colleagues. It was just a different feeling.
Did you do the bubble? Were you in the bubble for the NBA bubble
I
or the
was not
hockey
in the
bubble?
NBA bubble. Tell me about the NBA bubble. I remember it very well.
Or the hockey one? Did you do the hockey too for that?
Oh yeah, I did hockey, and we were going up to our rooms. We weren't allowed to go downstairs. We had to go up to our rooms. They were giving us food up in our rooms instead of being out, down in the hotel bar or whatever, or down in the hotel at the restaurant, or down in the hotel. They didn't want you anywhere outside of your room, so they were bringing us our meals. They were trying to play it safe. It was weird. It was a weird time, right?
I
Did you
know.
agree?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a weird time, but I think that weird time had a tremendous effect on this industry because it fast forwarded some of the things that the technologies that they were playing with, and it forced them to do it. I mean, more things are remote now than ever before. I mean, doing what we're doing now, Zoom, like this Zoom thing exploded because
Right.
of the pandemic, and now it's a key component in a lot of productions. It's a useful tool. It does what it's supposed to
It is a
do.
useful tool. It did
You know.
accelerate stuff. It accelerated so much. It really did. Yeah, it definitely robotic cameras. I mean, some stuff. They were doing players at their homes with. They take my computer here that I'm sitting on right now, send it to a player's house. He'd open it up. He'd do an interview right there, close the computer, send it back home, and the interview was done instead of doing it on site. You know what I mean? So technology definitely. And then, a lot of the cellular transmissions and stuff like that you
Oh
see
yeah,
happening now,
live view,
live
TVU.
views. I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge, right?
That's crazy. It's crazy technology, but it's all it's signal flow. Like I mean, the better used signal flow helps them get more out of what they get because we were talking fiber stuff early. The fiber line is just a glass wires thing that they send the signal down. But in that glass little wire there, you can multiplex and you can send diverse signals down one single path, and then it'll get to the other side and break out into those different paths by whatever unit you use to transmit. It's incredible how much data is now transmittable for
Everything,
everything.
everything.
Picture, sound, control, everything is
Yeah.
transmittable to,
To
not
the
just,
littlest
oh, yeah,
wire, to the
yeah, but
wire that's this size.
yeah, but it's not just, I'm operating. I did an AFC championship where I was doing a pan bar system and my camera was in the stadium and I was in the parking lot in the trailer. And that was great. I'm doing my job like that way. But the reality is at some point, they really want to have you or me here or at home. I could be doing the same thing. Robotic control. You think we're going to get to that point where we're going to be able to work from home
I don't know if me and you are going to see it in our lifetime, but uh, I think it's going to happen. I mean,
in some capacity?
yes,
It's
in some
happening now. In
capacity,
some
yes.
capacity, it's happening now.
As a camera guy, I want to go in. I want to speak to a director. I want to speak to a director. I want to see him. I want to feel him. I want him to be in front of me. I want him to tell me what he wants. Some of these Remys we do, and I'm sure most people know what the Remys are. Some of these Remys we do, it's a little impersonal. You're basically setting up your camera and you're talking to nobody and you're shooting the game the way you think it should be shot. And you do get some direction, but not quite the direction when me and you sit and do a camera meeting and it's seven or eight of us in front of a director and he's telling us exactly what each guy he would like to do, right?
Yeah, I mean it's changed. I mean, I do think it affects the way the game is, um, the
What?
way it looks, the way there's no way any change you make to a product affects the product, and whether or not even if you still have the same people doing the same jobs but doing it from different places, that also makes an impact in it. Yeah, I agree. Like having the director there in front of you, talking to him, building that relationship, that trust, looking at, when he gives you an assignment and you're looking over and he sees that you're understanding what he's saying, it means something sometimes, like you don't get that type of communication, inflection, tone, or respect being remote that way. It's just, it's almost like I know a lot of us who've been doing this a long time feel like, oh, it's not the way we want to see this business go. It's not the way it should be done. But it's unfortunately going to be the way it's going to be done because it makes financial sense. It makes business sense for them to do things this way. I just hope that the process gets better so that the quality doesn't take as much of a hit.
I agree. And it could, and it very well could, because, well, you just got to have the executives worry about the product. The product matters.
Yeah, exactly. I don't worry about selling the product. I just worry about making the product. I want to make
Right,
sure that I help make a good product.
right.
That's the thing about this. This is a collaborative work environment. I mean, we were talking about a lot of the accolades that you've received, but you earned them because you do great work, but you really earned them because you're part of it. You're a good part of a great team. You're a part of a great crew. You work with a bunch of guys. You all share in those rewards. You all share in the accolades because you all participated in doing great work. Like that's what hopefully that's what you get into this business to do, just to be part of,
Yeah.
like be part of something good that becomes great, and you'll be really happy you did. It's
Communication's
fun.
so important in this business, and that's why probably we have communication skills and degrees. Because I mean, it's like if I'm doing a football game and Mick Holmes walks off the field hurt with his leg or something like that, and um and all the other cameramans aren't by the VOMs where he walks back in. But every once in a while, like, I'll catch out of the corner of my eye before him coming walking down the hallway. And all you need to do is say on headsets, Mix Holmes is coming back. And every camera guy on the show knows now that he's coming back, and they can help out and get that shot of him walking back on the field.
Yeah,
What
and
shot they
especially
want.
and if Kansas City, those guys they come out the tunnel, but they have a way into their locker room at the
From the
50.
back door.
They
Yes,
got a little back door that they
they
can
do.
just walk back down, go down the hit, go down the steps,
Correct.
and they're in.
They do.
So they can sneak back. So you have to be quick. You have to
Communication's the
react
key.
quick, and then communicate it quick.
Communication's
Hey,
key. And
Mahomes is
one,
going down. Mahomes is going down. Yeah, I mean that's a good point because sometimes you see the shot, but you're not in a position to get the shot, and you help the shot
so
materialize
you got to
by
be another set
notifying
of
others.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're helping the director out too, because the director's blind to that. I mean, the director doesn't know, so now the director knows the star of the game's going away, or whatever, whatever the case might be. That's a big story, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean that's what the directors don't communicate, but do communicate. They say, "Listen, I'm going to give you all these sheets of paper to go look at, and these are my notes, and these are the things, but expect the unexpected. Think outside the box. Be creative. Sell your shots. Follow the announcers. Listen to the storylines. It's almost like what do they tell you? Tell you in the city, see something, say something. Well, yeah, you see something, say, but it's how you say it, when to say it. You can't just like I don't. It's tough to explain PL, the communications of comms, to people who aren't,
Anybody.
yeah, who aren't in it because it's a PL, it's the party line, and it's a
Right.
lot of different people talking, and a lot of different people have to pay attention to what is being said because it's a shared line. It's not just the director talking to the camera guys. A lot of people listening to that director and can hear the camera guys. And the ADs might have us on the tape. Video definitely probably has a listen up to us.
Yes.
Everybody has to listen up to the director. So you can't, you have to learn how to say something concisely and precisely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, listen, I got to tell you because I just noticed that this player, but you can't get into the whole, you don't have a
Yeah.
paragraph to say it. You have to be quick about it, and you got to know how to, and you got to know when to interrupt.
I could see
When
two
you hear a
ways.
guy going, "All right, we're on in three, two," you can't be like, "Oh, ah."
Yeah. 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 That's funny. That's
Well,
true.
we've
'Cause
heard. Listen, we've heard
I
people
know.
do. We've heard people not have the right timing on
Yeah.
stuff sometimes, and we'll like, oh,
Yeah.
geez,
I mean, to three words, you could say 24 in the tent. I mean, 24 in the tent. They got a blue tent there. It's where the injured guys go. You're telling the director that 24 is in the tent. That means 24 could either be hurt or he's going to the bathroom, one of the two. You know what I mean? And you
yeah,
also you don't overdo it. You let them editorize. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say he went in there on an injury, because that's inaccurate. I don't know that. He could be going in there to go to the bathroom or whatever. You know what I mean, Hardy, right?
Yeah.
The tents that they go in, when they
That,
get hurt.
oh yeah, it was funny because the other day there was a game on and the big blue tent blew over and they're like, oh, now the World Series is just a cheap $100 massage table. Everybody thinks it's like a lab in there. It's not like they just go in there and flash a light in your eyes or the doctor gives it's not what's in the tent, it's who goes in the tent with you. How many doctors, which doctor is it? Because
Exactly, exactly. And
is it
experience. That comes with experience, knowing that they go in with the doctor, it's probably an injury. They go in with a cup, it might not be. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Which guy is there a guy in a uniform in there or a guy in a suit? That
Correct.
yeah, you got to kind of pick out the personnel
That
and
comes with
know,
time.
huh?
That
You
comes
know
with
that
time. It
oh
doesn't,
that
it's not overnight that you know.
yeah, I mean that's true too. That's part of the learning curve too. When you have access to the environment and it's a new environment to you, you don't really know what you're seeing yet. You don't know what to observe and
True.
how to observe it. But that comes with the territory. That comes
It
with
does.
time in the chair and learning
It's
more
learnable.
experience. Yeah, it's good. I just think that for me, doing this with someone like you who's had the career and done everything else and has taken a path that has taken him to do so many different things. You work local, you've traveled the world, you've done the Olympics, you do the major events, you do horse racing. You've had a chance to really uh experience all the different things in this industry to choose. Like it goes to show that you don't have to really decide I want to do this or do that. You can always mix it up. As a
Yes.
freelancer, like that's kind of the scary thing and the beautiful thing about our careers. You're not guaranteed your work, but you're kind of, if you're good at what you do, you're guaranteed to work. You know what I mean? It's not like we're not staff. I don't have guarantees that I'm going to get work next week or next month. It's just you build a reputation, you build your clientele, and hopefully your phone rings and you do, and you work. And then you pick and choose what you say yes and what you say no to, you know the
That's a good
travel
point.
stuff, it's always, that is the travel is never the work that's the issue because we all love the work. It's sometimes, especially post pandemic, the impact of travel, you want to get to where you want to get to quickly and just make it as not as troublesome as
Painless.
possible.
Yeah.
But nowadays, this travel stuff, it gets to be problematic. It could ruin a trip for you when you're delayed and you're
Right.
stuck and you're not going to get there. And then that even if it's a travel only day, it still bothers me. But when it's a travel work day, because like a lot of people don't realize that sometimes you have to travel in and then go to site and work that day, and then
Travel
because that
work.
just yeah, travel is called a travel work day. It's not just sometimes you travel only, sometimes it's travel work. And on the travel work day, and your travel falls apart on you, the shitty thing about that is that your crew guys have to pick up the slack on it now because you're not
Sure.
going to make it in there, and
Right.
now somebody else is doing more work than should be. But that's what the teams do. You cover the stuff that happens all the time,
It
especially
does.
when
Or
when
you'll have to double time it the next day. But yeah, I never take this for granted. I think I got to where I was today because this business has offered me this platform, Hardy. I mean, I've got this platform that they hand me a camera, and thank goodness we learned to do, to kind of look the right directions on where the next action is going to take place on sport, as far as sports goes. And yeah, I never take it for granted, Hardy, ever that they gave me this platform and that I was able, that most of these, different networks and these people give me the opportunity to do what I do. You know what I mean? I never
well,
take that.
you built those relationships, and but you built those relationships on dependability, solid work, and you
Yeah,
know what? I always tell people too, like there's going to be difficult times to do this job, but you don't have to be difficult to work with during those times. Like it sucks. Days will suck. It'll rain, gear won't work, something goes blah 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 blah. But you don't control that, but you can control your attitude about it. You can't
true.
let it really, don't you I always try to not let that disrupt because it shouldn't. You shouldn't let the problems domino into other people's things and change your attitude and what you just got to. I think the best way to do it is work through it and deal with it. Nobody shows up to any job site in this business to not succeed. Everybody's always trying, the show must go on to get the show on as best as possible. So any problem is always attacked with the goal of solutions. You know what I mean? That nobody's saying, "Oh, it's okay." Nobody will ever be like, "Oh, I'm okay with that." That's no. No, everybody wants to find a solution to make it work, and that's important. And you want to be part of that solution, to help
I do.
figure out. I mean, we talked a lot about the
I don't
accolades
just
and the
want to
work.
be Hardy. I don't just want to be part of the solution. I want to be so in part of that and try to do the right thing, like exactly what you're saying. And then at the end of the night, that at least you had 5 or 6 really good looks of the show that is different than just the game camera. You know what I mean? It's like, you take pride in what you just said, and that's every night you're there for a reason to make the show a little bit more better.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this. I try to bring it every night because of guys like you. You bring it. I love the fact that the guys I sit next to and work next to on a nightly basis, I look over and I see these guys bringing it, working really hard, doing their best, doing stuff like that. You and I know this market. You can look to your left and to your right any night of the week and see a guy that's got a couple of Super Bowls, a couple of World Series, a
Right.
couple of this. Everybody has done their share. And continues to do their, continues to want to do great work. You're going to continue to do great work, but it's so inspiring. Like you dropped your age, you're in your 60s, but you're still bringing it. You still show up with that same mentality and attitude that you did when we were younger doing this because your goals are still the same to do your best work.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
feel
can't
like
thank
it.
you enough for doing this, Gary. I've
Oh,
taken the
thank you,
time
Hardy.
out. It's been so awesome to talk to you about and go over your career and what you've done. I hope people who watch this and see this are getting inspired to do what you do and what we do and do it the way you do it, man, with a great attitude, a great work ethic, and you quietly shine brightly on every crew that you're on, man. And it's always been a pleasure to work with you and see your work, man. Thank you for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
Hardy. I really appreciate that.
All right,
I
bud.
really do.
Be good, man. Thanks again. All right, that
Thanks,
was Crew
Hardy.
Call Live for this week. Crew Call Live, weekly Thursdays, 5 p.m. on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel. Yes, I am live on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel. Parker, thank you so much for helping me out and always supporting the broadcast workshops and all the things that we're trying to do in this market and in other markets to expose people to the wonderful careers in broadcast sports. Gary is a union member. He knows, like, we are very proud of the crafts and the work that our unions do in this country and in the sports that we do. Every night, there's crews around the country working hard to tell stories. So, I just appreciate the work that goes into it. Thank you all. I appreciate it, Gary. Thanks again, man. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Boom.